If you're over 60 and living with blood pressure changes, there's something most people never explain clearly enough. Blood pressure is not just about numbers, it's about stability. Many seniors spend years checking readings, comparing results, and worrying when values rise or fall. Yet, even with normal numbers, they still don't feel right. Mornings feel unsteady. Standing feels harder. Energy comes and goes. Sleep doesn't feel restorative, and that creates confusion. Because if the numbers look fine, why doesn't the body feel fine? The answer is not in one reading. It's in how the body transitions through the day. After 60, the body no longer adjusts instantly. It transitions more slowly, and it needs support during those transitions. That's what this video is about. Not strict rules, not pushing harder, and not replacing your doctor. It's about supporting your body's natural regulation. From morning to night, as we age, blood vessels become less elastic. The nervous system reacts more slowly. Hormone rhythms shift. Circulation becomes more sensitive to posture, hydration, and stress. None of this means something is wrong. It means the body values predictability. When the day feels rushed or chaotic, blood pressure regulation becomes unstable. That's why many seniors experience morning spikes, sudden drops, afternoon fatigue, or waking too early with anxiety. These are not isolated problems. They are connected. Blood pressure doesn't live in snapshots. It lives in motion. It responds to how you wake up, how you move, how you eat, how you rest, and how you prepare for sleep. That's why focusing on one moment rarely solves the problem. One of the biggest misunderstandings after 60 is thinking blood pressure problems can be fixed at a single point in time. Lower the morning number. Avoid a nighttime spike. Change one habit. But stability isn't built that way. It's built by how each part of the day flows into the next. If the morning is rushed, the afternoon pays the price. If the afternoon is tense, the evening struggles. If the evening is chaotic, the night becomes unstable, and the next morning begins already behind. That's the cycle many seniors feel trapped in. This video helps break that cycle. And here's something important to understand early. This is not about doing more. It's about doing things in a way that respects how the body works after 60. Small, consistent adjustments have more impact than aggressive changes. When actions align with physiology, the body responds. When they fight physiology, the body resists. If you've watched other videos on this channel, you may recognize some themes. We've talked about feeling off in the morning, blood pressure spikes between 3 and 5 a.m., and dizziness when standing. Those videos explain why these things happen. This video answers the next question. What should a normal day actually look like? From waking up, to midday, to evening, to preparing for sleep. Because stability isn't about controlling blood pressure. It's about supporting it. Before we begin, here's one calm reminder. Blood pressure after 60 is not fragile. It's adaptive. But adaptation takes time. Your body isn't failing you. It's communicating. And once you understand that language, you can respond with confidence instead of fear. Let's start with the first part of the day, the morning, and how to support your body as it transitions from rest to activity. The most important part of the day for blood pressure after 60 is not the middle of the day and not even the evening. It's the transition from sleep to wakefulness. This transition quietly determines how stable your blood pressure will feel for the rest of the day. Most seniors don't realize this. They wake up and immediately move, the same way they did years ago. They sit up quickly. They stand right away. They rush to the bathroom. They check numbers. They start thinking. But after 60, the body no longer switches modes instantly. It transitions. And when that transition is rushed, blood pressure regulation becomes unstable. During sleep, your body is in a protected state. Heart rate is lower. Blood pressure is reduced. Blood vessels are relaxed. The nervous system is quiet. Waking up means all of that must change. Blood pressure needs to rise slightly. Blood vessels need to tighten just enough. Blood must move from the legs to the brain. The nervous system must become alert. In younger adults, this happens almost automatically. After 60, it happens gradually. That's not weakness. That's physiology. The problem is not aging itself. The problem is treating the morning as if the body is already ready. In the first minutes after waking, blood pressure regulation is still unstable. If you demand too much, too quickly, the system struggles to keep up. That struggle can feel like dizziness, or heaviness in the head, or weakness. or a sudden sense of anxiety. These sensations are often misunderstood. People assume something is wrong, but most of the time, the body is simply being rushed. The goal of the morning routine after 60 is not to lower blood pressure. It's to support the transition. When the transition is smooth, blood pressure stabilizes naturally. Heart rate settles. Symptoms fade. Confidence improves. That's why mornings should feel gentle, not demanding. When you first wake up, there's no need to move immediately. Give your body a moment to recognize that it's awake. This isn't about staying in bed longer. It's about coordination. Calm breathing helps here. Nothing special. Just steady, relaxed breaths. Breathing sends a message to the nervous system. There is no emergency. And that message matters, because the nervous system plays a major role in blood pressure control. When you do move, sit up slowly. Let your feet touch the floor. Stay seated for a short moment. This allows gravity to begin redistributing blood without overwhelming circulation. Standing too quickly can cause blood to pool in the legs. The brain senses reduced flow and responds with dizziness or weakness. That response is uncomfortable, but it's not usually dangerous. Waiting briefly gives the system time to catch up. Once you stand, avoid freezing in place. Gentle movement helps circulation. Small steps, slow walking, light shifting of weight. Muscles help move blood back toward the heart and support pressure to the brain. That's why standing still often feels worse than moving gently. Hydration also plays a role. After sleep, mild dehydration is common. This can make blood pressure regulation more sensitive. A few sips of water can help support blood volume. There's no need to drink a large amount immediately. The goal is support, not overload. Mental stress in the morning matters more than most people realize. Checking emails, checking numbers, or worrying too early activates the stress response. Stress hormones raise blood pressure before the body is ready. That creates unnecessary instability. The first part of the morning should feel predictable and calm. That protects regulation. Blood pressure measurements taken too early often reflect transition, not baseline. This is one of the most common sources of confusion after 60. A reading taken immediately after waking can look high or low, even when the system is healthy. Waiting until the body feels settled provides more meaningful information. Numbers should guide understanding, not create fear. Here's the key idea for the morning. After 60, the morning is not the time to test the body. It's the time to support it. When you respect the transition, symptoms calm down, confidence returns, and the rest of the day becomes easier. The morning routine doesn't need to be complicated. It needs to be kind to physiology. And now that you understand why the morning transition matters so much, the next question becomes clear. Blood pressure stability isn't built only in the morning. It's protected or disrupted by what happens during the rest of the day. So next, let's talk about how midday habits quietly prevent spikes and drops before they ever start. For many seniors, the middle of the day feels uneventful. Nothing dramatic happens, no strong symptoms, no obvious warning signs. And that's exactly why midday matters, because this is when blood pressure is quietly shaped for the rest of the day. Most people assume that if they feel okay around midday, everything must be fine. But after 60, some of the most important blood pressure changes happen silently. During the middle of the day, the body is constantly adjusting. Blood pressure rises and falls in response to movement, meals, posture, hydration, and mental stress. In younger adults, these adjustments are smooth and automatic. After 60, they are more fragile, not because the body is failing, but because it reacts more slowly. That delay is where problems begin. One common issue is silent blood pressure drops. These don't always cause dizziness right away. Instead, they may feel like sudden fatigue, heaviness in the body, difficulty concentrating, a subtle sense of weakness. Many seniors ignore these signals. They assume it's just aging, or poor sleep, or hunger. But often, these sensations reflect a drop in blood pressure that hasn't yet caused obvious symptoms. Another issue is gradual spikes. These spikes don't feel dramatic either. They build slowly, in response to stress, tension, or overexertion. The body doesn't send an alarm. Instead, it tightens quietly. Blood vessels constrict. Heart rate stays slightly elevated. The nervous system remains alert. By the time numbers are checked later, blood pressure may already be elevated. and people wonder where it came from. Midday habits often create these patterns, without anyone realizing it. For example, long periods of sitting, reduced circulation, blood pools in the legs, the heart works harder to maintain pressure to the brain. When standing suddenly after sitting, the system may struggle to adapt. That's why some seniors feel lightheaded. Later in the day, even if the morning felt fine, meals also play a role. After eating, blood is redirected toward digestion. In some people, this causes a drop in blood pressure. In others, stress hormones rise to compensate, creating instability. Large meals, heavy meals, or meals high in refined carbohydrates can amplify this effect. The result isn't always immediate dizziness. Often, it's subtle fatigue or a need to sit or lie down. Hydration continues to matter at midday. Even mild dehydration can increase blood pressure sensitivity. The body compensates by tightening blood vessels. This keeps pressure up, but increases strain. Small, regular hydration supports blood volume without overwhelming the system. Waiting until you feel thirsty is often too late. Mental stress is one of the most overlooked factors. Midday stress doesn't always feel intense. It may come from rushing tasks, multitasking, worrying about schedules, feeling pressured to keep up. The nervous system doesn't distinguish between physical and mental demand. Stress hormones rise either way, and those hormones directly affect blood pressure. They narrow blood vessels and keep the heart in a heightened state. Over time, this creates a pattern of instability. The goal of midday is not to push through fatigue. It's to maintain steadiness. This doesn't mean stopping activity. It means pacing it. Gentle movement throughout the day supports circulation better than long periods of sitting, followed by sudden activity. Standing, walking briefly, stretching lightly help the body regulate pressure smoothly. Another common mistake is ignoring early signs of instability. Many seniors wait until symptoms become obvious, but midday is when small corrections have the greatest impact. A short rest, a few deep breaths, a glass of water, a brief walk. These simple actions can prevent larger drops or spikes later. Blood pressure numbers taken at midday can be helpful, but only if interpreted correctly. A single reading doesn't tell the full story. What matters is how you feel and whether numbers are consistent over time. Using measurements to understand patterns is far more useful than reacting to individual values. Here's the key idea for midday. After 60, blood pressure stability depends on prevention, not correction. Midday habits quietly determine how the evening will feel and how the night will unfold. When the middle of the day is steady, the rest of the day becomes easier. And now, as we move into the later part of the day, another transition begins, because how the body handles the afternoon has a direct effect on the evening. And the evening, in turn, prepares the body for sleep. And the next morning, in the next part, we'll look at how afternoon and early evening habits can either calm the nervous system or quietly set the stage for nighttime instability. As the day moves into the afternoon, many seniors begin to notice a subtle change. Energy drops, the body feels heavier, the mind feels less clear. This part of the day is often misunderstood. People assume the body is simply tired. But after 60, what's really happening is a shift in the nervous system. Throughout the day, the nervous system has been working quietly to keep blood pressure stable, responding to movement, responding to stress, responding to meals, responding to posture. By the afternoon, that system is often overstimulated, not because anything dramatic happened, but because it never fully rested. The nervous system has two main modes. One prepares the body for action. The other prepares it for rest and recovery. In younger adults, switching between these modes is easy. After 60, the switch becomes slower and less precise. If the body stays too long in an alert, stressed state, blood pressure regulation becomes unstable. This is why afternoons and evenings matter so much. They are not just the end of the day. They are the preparation phase for nighttime blood pressure behavior. And the next morning, if the nervous system remains overstimulated, into the evening, the body enters sleep already tense. That tension shows up later as restlessness, early awakenings, or blood pressure spikes during the night. One common mistake is trying to push through afternoon fatigue. People add caffeine. They push activity. They ignore signals to slow down. This keeps the nervous system activated. When it should begin settling, the result is not more energy. It's delayed recovery. Movement still matters in the afternoon, but the type of movement changes. The goal is no longer stimulation. It's regulation. Gentle walking, light stretching, calm, rhythmic activity. These help the nervous system shift toward a calmer state without causing blood pressure swings. Sudden exertion late in the day can have the opposite effect. Mental stress is equally important. Afternoon stress often feels subtle. It may come from unfinished tasks, worry about tomorrow, or simply mental overload. The nervous system doesn't care whether stress is physical or mental. Stress hormones are released either way. Those hormones keep blood vessels slightly constricted and heart rate elevated. Over time, this makes blood pressure more reactive. Creating a calm evening transition doesn't require dramatic changes. It requires signals of safety, predictable routines, slower pacing, fewer decisions. These signals tell the nervous system that vigilance is no longer required. And when vigilance decreases, blood pressure regulation improves. Another overlooked factor is posture in the evening. Long periods of sitting, especially in tense positions, can strain circulation. Gentle posture changes help redistribute blood flow and reduce pressure fluctuations. This is especially helpful for seniors who feel restless or uncomfortable later in the day. The timing of stimulation also matters. Bright lights, loud sounds, emotionally charged content. All of these activate the nervous system. Reducing stimulation in the evening allows the body to begin its natural wind-down. This makes nighttime blood pressure behavior more predictable. Here's the key idea for the afternoon and evening. After 60, blood pressure stability depends heavily on how well the nervous system is allowed to calm down. You don't need to shut down activity. You need to change its tone. When the nervous system settles, blood pressure follows. This is why some seniors experience blood pressure spikes at night. Even when daytime numbers seemed fine, the issue didn't start at night. It started earlier, when the body never received a signal to relax. As evening turns into night, another important phase begins. Because what you do before sleep directly influences how blood pressure behaves while you're asleep and how you'll feel in the morning. In the next part, we'll look at nighttime habits that quietly stabilize blood pressure without effort or medication changes. Nighttime is not just about sleeping. For blood pressure after 60, night is preparation. What happens during the night quietly determines how stable your blood pressure will feel when you wake up. Many seniors focus on morning symptoms without realizing that those symptoms often begin the night before. During sleep, the body is supposed to enter a restorative state. Blood pressure lowers, heart rate slows, the nervous system shifts into recovery mode. This process is called nocturnal dipping. In healthy regulation, blood pressure gently drops at night and rises again toward morning. After 60, this rhythm often becomes less predictable, not because the body is broken, but because the signals that guide this process are weaker or disrupted. One major factor is how the nervous system enters sleep. If the body goes to bed tense, blood pressure may not dip properly. Stress hormones remain elevated. Blood vessels stay partially constricted. The heart stays slightly alert. This creates unstable nighttime blood pressure behavior. Some seniors wake frequently. Others wake too early. Some experience spikes in the early morning hours. These patterns are often misunderstood as purely sleep problems. In reality, they are regulation problems. Evening habits strongly influence this process. The body responds to signals, bright lights, screens, emotional conversations, and mental stimulation. Tell the nervous system to stay alert. When alertness continues too late, the transition into deep rest is delayed. This doesn't always prevent sleep, but it changes the quality of sleep. And blood pressure regulation depends on sleep quality, not just sleep duration. Another factor is evening posture and activity. Long periods of sitting, especially in tense positions, can affect circulation. When circulation is strained in the evening, the body carries that tension into the night. Gentle movement earlier in the evening helps release that strain. This doesn't mean exercise before bed. It means allowing the body to move without demand. Meals also play a role at night. Heavy or late meals can keep the digestive system active when the body should be resting. Digestion competes with blood pressure regulation for resources. For some seniors, this leads to nighttime discomfort. or early morning instability. The body prefers predictability. Consistent timing supports regulation. Hydration matters too. Too little hydration can increase nighttime blood pressure sensitivity. Too much fluid too late can disrupt sleep and increase awakenings. Balance matters. Small adjustments here often have large effects on morning stability. Another important but often overlooked factor is nighttime breathing. Shallow or disrupted breathing during sleep affects oxygen levels and nervous system balance. This can trigger blood pressure fluctuations. Conditions like sleep apnea become more common with age. Unrecognized breathing issues can quietly worsen blood pressure control. Despite good daytime habits, this is why persistent nighttime symptoms should always be discussed with a healthcare provider. Here's the key idea for nighttime. Night is not passive. It's an active phase of regulation. The goal is not perfect sleep. The goal is allowing the body to enter recovery mode with minimal interference. When nighttime regulation improves, the morning becomes easier. Blood pressure transitions more smoothly. Symptoms decrease. Confidence increases. This is why some seniors feel that no matter what they do in the morning, things still feel off. The preparation phase was incomplete, and that preparation happens at night. As night turns into morning, the final phase of the daily routine begins. This phase determines whether blood pressure remains stable over time or continues to feel unpredictable. In the final part, we'll bring everything together and talk about one simple principle that ties the entire daily routine together. Now that we've walked through the entire day together, there's one final idea I want you to take with you. Because if you remember only one thing from this video, it should be this. After 60, blood pressure stability is not built by controlling numbers. It's built by supporting transitions. Every part of the day is a transition. Waking up, moving through the morning, shifting into the afternoon, calming down in the evening, entering sleep, and preparing to wake again. When those transitions are rushed, blood pressure becomes reactive. When they are supported, blood pressure becomes predictable. This is the pattern behind everything we've discussed. Think about what most seniors are taught to do. Check numbers, react quickly, correct immediately. But the body doesn't work that way after 60. It needs time. And when it's given time, it often regulates itself remarkably well. This is why many symptoms disappear without medication changes. Dizziness improves. Morning unease fades. Nighttime restlessness settles. Not because something was fixed, but because the body was finally allowed to complete its natural cycles. One of the most harmful beliefs after 60 is the idea that feeling unsteady means something is wrong. In reality, it often means the body is asking for support. Support is not weakness. Support is strategy. Let's summarize the day in simple terms. In the morning, you support the transition from rest to activity. At midday, you prevent silent drops and spikes by pacing yourself. In the afternoon and evening, you help the nervous system settle. At night, you prepare the body for recovery. None of this requires perfection. It requires awareness. And here's something important to understand. Blood pressure after 60 is not fragile, it is adaptive. But adaptation only works when the environment allows it. Your daily routine is that environment. This is why chasing single solutions rarely works. One pill, one habit, one number. They don't address the full picture. Stability comes from alignment, not force. If you felt anxious about blood pressure or confused by conflicting advice, you are not alone. Many seniors are told what to do, but never told why. Understanding removes fear. And when fear decreases, blood pressure often improves. That's the purpose of this channel. Not to alarm you, not to overwhelm you, but to explain what's happening in your body in a way that makes sense. As we continue this series, we'll explore specific moments that cause confusion and concern. Why blood pressure spikes between 3 and 5 a.m. Why you can feel unwell even with normal readings. Why standing up suddenly can feel so difficult after 60. Each video adds one piece to the same picture. If this explanation helped you feel calmer, more confident, or more in control, consider subscribing to the channel. Not for daily alerts, but for steady guidance. And if you know someone over 60 who struggles with blood pressure, confusion, sharing this video could help them understand their body better. Before we finish, remember this one rule. After 60, your body doesn't need to be pushed. It needs to be supported. When you support transitions, blood pressure follows. Thank you for spending this time with me.